The house was full of people I didn't know. Dad's 58th birthday party was in full swing, catered food, expensive decorations, a bartender mixing cocktails in the kitchen. My stepmom Patricia had gone all out as usual. Showing off. Making sure everyone knew the Hendersons were doing just fine. Except they weren't. I stood in the corner of the living room, my childhood living room, watching Patricia hold court with her friends. She wore a dress that cost more than my monthly car payment, her hair freshly styled, her nails perfectly manicured. Everything about her screamed money. Money she didn't have. Money Dad didn't have. Money they'd been pretending to have for the last 3 years. Dad sat in his favorite chair by the fireplace looking tired. Older than 58. He'd aged a decade since Mom died 5 years ago. Since Patricia had swept in 6 months later with her designer bags and her expensive taste and her 2 spoiled children who now called this house their home. Isabel. Patricia's voice cut through the party chatter. She was walking toward me, champagne glass in hand, smile sharp as a knife. There you are. Hiding in the corner as usual. Just observing, I said quietly. Well, observe this. She gestured around the room. Your father's birthday party. 50 guests. Catered by the best service in town. This is what success looks like, dear. You should take notes. I didn't respond. I'd learned years ago that arguing with Patricia was pointless. How's that little job of yours? She continued, her tone dripping with condescension. Still doing, what was it? Bookkeeping. Accounting, I corrected. Right. Accounting. For small businesses, I assume. Nothing too impressive. She sipped her champagne. Well, everyone needs bookkeepers. Someone has to add up the numbers for the real business owners. Her friends laughed. They always laughed at her jokes, even when they weren't funny. Patricia, one of her friends said, you never told us Isabel still lives here. At 27? That's unusual. Oh, it's temporary, Patricia said quickly, waving her hand dismissively. She's been saving money. Trying to get her own place. It's taking a while, obviously, but we don't mind helping family. Even if she's not technically mine. The implied insult hung in the air. Not technically mine. As if I needed reminding that Patricia wasn't my mother. As if I could ever forget. Dad caught my eye from across the room. He looked apologetic but said nothing. He never said anything anymore. Not since Patricia had taken over every aspect of his life. Actually, Patricia continued, her voice getting louder, we need to talk about that, Isabel. Now seems as good a time as any. The room started to go quiet. People were listening now. Patricia, maybe not here, Dad said weakly. No, Richard. She needs to hear this. We've been too accommodating for too long. Patricia turned to face me fully, her audience assembled. Isabel, you're 27 years old. You have a job. You have income. There's no reason you should still be living in your father's house. Patricia. Dad tried again. Richard, we discussed this. We agreed. He turned back to me. You have 48 hours to pack your things and find somewhere else to live. We need this space. My son Trevor is moving back home and he needs a bedroom. Your bedroom. The room was completely silent now. You're kicking me out? I said, my voice steady despite the anger rising in my chest. I'm helping you grow up, Patricia corrected. You've been coddled long enough. 2 days. That's more than fair. I looked at Dad. He was staring at his hands, not meeting my eyes. He'd known about this. He'd agreed to it. My own father was letting his wife kick me out of the house I'd grown up in without even warning me. Dad. I said. He finally looked up. Isabel, honey, it's time. You need your own place. You're an adult now. Patricia's right about that. You could have talked to me privately, I said quietly. Would it have made a difference? Patricia interjected. You would have argued, made excuses, delayed. This way is cleaner. 48 hours. Starting now. Her friends nodded approvingly. One of them even said, tough love. That's what young people need today. I looked around the room. At the 50 guests eating catered food in a house they thought belonged to my father. At Patricia preening in her expensive dress. At Dad too weak to stand up for his own daughter. At Trevor, Patricia's 25-year-old son, smirking from the doorway. Okay, I said calmly. I'll start packing. Patricia blinked, surprised by my compliance. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're being mature about this. Very mature, I agreed. I'll be out by Monday morning. Excellent. Patricia turned back to her friends, already moving on to the next topic. Now, who wants to see the remodel plans for the master bathroom? I walked upstairs to my room, the room I'd lived in since I was 6 years old. The room where Mom used to read me bedtime stories. The room where I'd studied for my CPA exam. The room that Trevor would be occupying in 48 hours. I pulled out my phone and made a call. David? It's Isabel. I need you to prepare the eviction notices for 2847 Maple Street. Yes, the property we acquired last month. Deliver them tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. To Richard and Patricia Henderson. I listened to his response. No, I'm not changing my mind. They don't know I own the house. It's time they found out. After I hung up, I sat on my bed and looked around the room. At the walls Mom had helped me paint lavender when I was 12. At the bookshelf Dad had built when I was 14. At the window seat where I'd spent hours reading. This house held 21 years of memories. But it wasn't mine anymore. It hadn't been mine since Patricia moved in and slowly erased every trace of Mom. The photos that disappeared. The furniture that got replaced. The garden Mom planted that Patricia had torn out for a pool. I'd watched it happen. Watched Dad let it happen. Watched him choose his new wife over the memory of the woman who'd loved him for 25 years. And I'd stayed quiet. Because he was my dad. Because I didn't want to cause problems. Because I kept hoping he'd remember who I was and what Mom would have wanted. But tonight, when he sat there and said nothing while his wife humiliated me in front of 50 people, I realized something. He wasn't going to remember. He wasn't going to stand up for me. He wasn't going to be the father I needed. So I'd be what he never expected. The next morning I woke up early. Packed a single bag with essentials. Left everything else where it was. At 8:45 a.m. I went downstairs. Dad was in the kitchen making coffee. Patricia was still asleep. The house was quiet after the chaos of the party. Morning, Isabel, Dad said, not quite meeting my eyes. You're up early. Big day, I said. Listen, about last night. He trailed off. Patricia can be direct, but she means well. She's right that you need your own place. It's time to move forward. You could have told me privately, I said again. I know. I'm sorry about that. But the outcome would have been the same. You understand, don't you? We need the space. Trevor's coming home and... The doorbell rang. Dad frowned. Who's that at this hour? I'll get it, I said. I opened the door to find David Chin, my lawyer, standing on the porch with a briefcase. Behind him was a process server. Good morning, Miss Henderson, David said formally. May we come in? Who is it? Dad called from the kitchen. Legal matter, I called back. To David I said, come in. Dad appeared in the hallway, confusion written all over his face. Legal matter? What's going on? Patricia came down the stairs in her robe, face creased with sleep. Why is there a lawyer in my house at 9 a.m.? Your house. David said politely. Actually, Mrs. Henderson, that's why we're here. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Mr. Richard Henderson and Mrs. Patricia Henderson, you're being served with formal eviction notices. You have 30 days to vacate the premises at 2847 Maple Street. Dad's coffee cup clattered to the floor. What? Patricia's face went white. This is insane. You can't evict us from our own house. It's not your house, I said calmly. It's mine. That's ridiculous, Patricia sputtered. Richard, tell them. This is our house. We've lived here for 23 years, I finished. Dad bought it in 2002 with Mom. After Mom died, you moved in. Last year, Dad stopped making mortgage payments. He was 6 months behind. The bank foreclosed. Dad's face had gone gray. Isabel, how do you? I'm a CP, Dad. I specialize in financial recovery for distressed assets. When you stopped returning my calls 3 months ago, I checked public records. Saw the foreclosure notice. Saw the auction date. You were checking up on me? Dad's voice was weak. I was worried about you. Turns out I was right to be. I gestured to David. I bought the house at auction last month. Paid $340,000 cash. Well below market value because it was a foreclosure. You've been living in my house for 4 weeks. Patricia found her voice shrill and panicked. That's not legal. You can't just buy someone's house out from under them. It's completely legal, David said. The house was in foreclosure. Your husband failed to make payments for 6 consecutive months. The bank seized the property and put it up for auction. Ms. Henderson purchased it legally and is now the rightful owner. Dad, I said, I tried to talk to you about your finances. Multiple times. You wouldn't take my calls. Wouldn't answer my emails. Wouldn't meet with me. So I had to find out on my own. I was embarrassed, Dad whispered. I didn't want you to know I was struggling. So you let Patricia throw that party last night? Catered food, open bar, 50 guests? That party probably cost $8,000. While you're 6 months behind on your mortgage. Patricia's face was red now. How dare you? That party was important. Your father deserved. My father deserved to keep his house, I snapped. But you were too busy spending money you didn't have on parties and clothes and pretending to be wealthier than you are. This is your fault. Patricia turned on Dad. You told me everything was fine. You said we had money. I thought we did, Dad said weakly. I thought the business would recover. I thought. You thought wrong, I said. Your business has been failing for 2 years, Dad. You've been living on credit cards and home equity. The house was all you had left and you couldn't even keep it. So you swooped in and bought it? Patricia's voice was venomous. What kind of daughter does that to her father? The kind who tried to help and got ignored, I said. I offered to look at your finances a year ago. You said you didn't need my help. That I was just a bookkeeper who didn't understand real business. Remember that, Patricia? She didn't respond. I bought this house for 2 reasons, I continued. First, to save Dad from complete financial ruin. If I hadn't bought it, a stranger would have. At least this way it stays in the family. Second, because I was done watching you destroy everything Mom built. Your mother has nothing to do with this, Patricia said coldly. This was Mom's house, I said, my voice rising. She chose it. She decorated it. She planted the garden you ripped out. She painted these walls. She made this a home. And you've spent 5 years erasing her. Isabel, Dad said, that's not fair. Isn't it? Where are Mom's photos, Dad? Where's her furniture? Where's the piano she played every Sunday? All gone. Replaced with Patricia's things. Patricia's style. Patricia's version of what this house should be. She's been gone 5 years, Dad said quietly. I had to move on. Moving on doesn't mean erasing her. And it doesn't mean choosing a woman who just kicked your daughter out of her childhood home in front of 50 people. Dad's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know what else to do. Patricia said it was time. That you needed to be independent. I am independent, Dad. I own 3 properties. I run my own accounting firm. I have 18 clients and annual revenue over $2 million. I'm not the struggling bookkeeper Patricia thinks I am. I'm successful. I could have moved out years ago. I stayed because I was worried about you. Patricia laughed bitterly. This is absurd. You expect us to believe you're a millionaire? You dress like you shop at thrift stores. I do shop at thrift stores, I said. Because I'd rather invest my money than waste it trying to impress people I don't like. Unlike you, Patricia, I don't need designer labels to feel valuable. David cleared his throat. If we could return to the matter at hand. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, you have 30 days to vacate. The eviction notice includes all terms and conditions. If you fail to comply, further legal action will be taken. Where are we supposed to go? Dad asked, defeated. That's not my problem, I said. You had 48 hours to figure out where I should go. You have 30 days. That's more than fair. Patricia's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful little. Careful, David warned. Anything you say can be used in court. Court. Dad looked panicked. Isabel, please. We can work this out. You don't need to evict us. This is your home too. It was my home, I corrected. Until your wife kicked me out of it. You said nothing, Dad. You sat there and watched her humiliate me. You chose her over your daughter. Again. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You've been choosing her for 5 years. Every time she made a dig at me, you said nothing. Every time she erased Mom, you let her. Every time I tried to help you, you pushed me away because she told you to. So now you get to live with that choice. I picked up my bag. I'm leaving. Not because Patricia gave me 48 hours. Because I'm done watching my father disappear into someone else's life. Where will you go? Dad asked. I have a condo downtown. 2 bedrooms, Riverview. I bought it 3 years ago. Another thing you would have known if you'd ever asked about my life. I headed toward the door. David will handle the legal details. 30 days. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Isabel, please. Dad followed me to the door. I'm sorry. I made mistakes. But you can't do this. I'm your father. I turned to face him. You are my father. But fathers protect their children. They stand up for them. They choose them. You did none of those things. So now you get to experience what it feels like to be discarded by someone who's supposed to love you. I do love you, he said, tears streaming down his face. Then you should have said something last night, I said softly. You should have told your wife that your daughter matters more than her son's bedroom. You should have defended me. Protected me. Been the father I needed. But you didn't. So this is goodbye. Don't do this, Patricia said from behind him. You'll regret this. Family doesn't treat family this way. You're right, I said. They don't. So maybe you should have thought about that before you kicked me out of my childhood home at a birthday party. I walked out the door and got into my car, a modest sedan I'd paid for in cash. Through the windshield I could see Dad standing in the doorway crying. Patricia next to him, face twisted with anger. I felt nothing. No guilt. No regret. No second thoughts. Just relief. I'd spent 5 years trying to be the good daughter. Trying to maintain a relationship with a father who'd checked out the moment Patricia checked in. Trying to honor Mom's memory in a house that no longer felt like home. And I was done. As I drove away, my phone rang. David. How are you doing? He asked. I'm okay, I said. And I meant it. They'll probably try to fight the eviction. Let them try. Everything's legal. Everything's documented. They don't have a case. What about your father? Will you? I don't know, I admitted. Right now I need distance. Maybe someday we can rebuild. But not while Patricia's in the picture. And not until he realizes what he lost. Fair enough. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Thanks, David. After I hung up, I drove to my condo. The one Patricia didn't believe existed. The one I'd furnished with a mix of thrift store finds and a few pieces of Mom's furniture I'd secretly saved before Patricia could throw them out. I sat on my balcony with coffee and looked out at the river. My phone buzzed with messages. Dad, please reconsider. We can talk about this. Patricia, you're making a huge mistake. We'll fight this. Trevor, this is so messed up. My mom is crying. I deleted them all. Then I pulled up the photos on my phone. Pictures of Mom in the house. Pictures of her garden. Pictures of Sunday dinners and Christmas mornings and ordinary moments that meant everything. That house was hers once. Now it was mine. And in 30 days it would be empty. Then I'd decide what to do with it. Maybe sell it. Maybe rent it. Maybe renovate it back to what it was when Mom was alive. But whatever I did, Patricia wouldn't be in it. And maybe if Dad ever found his spine, there might be room for him. But not yet. Not for a long time. Because some lessons take 30 days to teach. And some daughters are done being the lesson.